everyone, this is Carla and welcome back to the studio, and thank you for joining me for another episode of Step It Up Saturday. So for this episode, we are starting Christmas. So for this episode, I'll be using some of the products from the Old Holy Night Suite collection that's in our current holiday mini catalog. Now, this is a huge suite. It has 2 bundles, which these are the items that we'll be using in today's video. There's the star trinkets, which those were on backwater quite a bit, and now they're officially gone. Then we have our navy Night of Navy and Gold glittered ribbon. That's actually still available, and that's going to be carrying over. You can see I kind of got some notes here. And then there's these 2 packs of paper, which are retiring, and they're actually currently gone. So I only have like this bundle here, and I do have the ribbon, but we won't be using it on today's project. But yeah, this is the whole big mega suite of products. So we'll be using the 2 bundles. So let me bring in those bundles so you can see what they look like. So we'll be using the Stars at Night bundle. This is a photopolymer stamp set. It also coordinates with the Stars at Night set of dies, and there's also a hybrid embossing folder. We'll be using this folder in our last card. It also, in this mega suite, there's also the Night Divine bundle. So the stamp set, it's a red rubber cling set, and it's all these greetings, and then it coordinates with the Night Divine dies, which all these dies can create a nativity scene. So let's get started on our first card. So for my first card, I have a piece of Starry Sky Cardstock measuring 8.5 by 5.5, and it's scored at 4.25. I have a 5.25 by 4 basic white, a 3 by 3 Coastal Cabana, and a 3 by 3 basic white. So I'm gonna, we'll fold and burnish this, and then set it aside. And then I have this piece of cardstock. We're gonna stamp on that with the Coastal Cabana. I'm going to use my 2 3/8 inch circle punch. This is currently in our annual catalog. So I'll punch that out and set that aside. And then I'm also going to bring in my 2-inch circle punch, which I'll use this as soon as I go and I stamp my Merry Christmas on this piece. So the ink that I'm using for this project is Smoky Slate, Starry Sky, and Coastal Cabana. So I'm going to stamp my Merry Christmas in Starry Sky. Ink that up. I'm just going to stamp that in the center. Okay. And I'll set that aside. Bring in my 2-inch punch. And I'll punch this out, center it up, and punch that out. We'll set that aside. And then for this piece, let me put this down. So I'm going to stamp a couple of different images on here. So I'm going to open up my ink pads. Okay. And let's see, we're going to start off with this spotted star or sunburst type of image, and I'm going to ink that up in my Smoky Slate, and I'm going to stamp one down in the left corner. Whoops, almost put it in the wrong ink pad. Stamp another one up here near the top. And then one more down in this corner. We're creating our own background or our own designer series paper. So I'm going to bring in this star image and I'm going to ink that up in my Starry Sky. And I will stamp one right up here. And then another one down here. I'm kind of lining up the ends of, so the ends of this part of the star and this top, I'm lining it up with these dotted lines here. We're coming really close to it. Okay, and then one more. And we'll put this one right here. Okay. And then I'm going to bring in this little cluster of stars and I'm going to ink that up in Coastal Cabana. And I'm just going to fill in some areas with this color. Now I'm not going to worry about stamping over either one of those stars. We're just going to fill this in a little bit more. We'll put one down here and stamping off the piece of cardstock itself. And I think I need to move these because I see what I'm going to end up doing, and I'm going to be inking this stamp in the wrong ink pad. That would be no bueno. I'm just going to randomly place some in here. Let's see, we'll add a couple down here. Okay, so that looks good. So let me close these up. And one of the things that I forgot that I need is my paper trimmer. So give me 1 second. Okay. So on this piece, we're going to split this up. So I am going to cut it, see, at 1 3/4. I'm going to create three pieces. Let's move our scoring tool out of the way. And I'm going to keep these in order. Okay. Let's set these right over here. And we'll move this out of the way. Okay, so let's bring in our card base. And then these two pieces here. So I'm going to bring in my adhesive and bring in my silicone craft sheet. Okay. And then I'm going to just center this on that Coastal Cabana piece. And I will add some dimensionals to the back of that. And we'll set that aside. And then for these pieces, okay, one little tip that I do want to give you before I do this. With that paper trimmer, it cuts really well, but what happens, I don't know if you could see it, but there's a little lip that it leaves when you're cutting. So if you're like me and that bothers you, you can bring in your bone folder and with the tip of it just press it down and it'll just kind of flatten it up, and then you don't have that lip anymore on it. So let me just make sure I keep these in order, and I'll do that with all these pieces. Okay. And then I'll do this last one. Okay. All right, now I'll go ahead and add my adhesive to these pieces. Okay. Now I'm going to start with the end pieces first. So I'm not leaving a border on the left and the right side. There's just going to be a border up at the top and the bottom. So I'm going to make sure that that's lined up. I'll press that down and then I'll take the other outer piece and I'll add that to this side. Actually, not really centered here, am I? Okay, so I'm going to place this one, move it down just a little bit. Oh, no. We got to go to the edge. Go to the edge. So used to having that border around that. I forgot you're going all the way to the edge. Okay. And then I'll add my last piece. Right here. It's easier to do the outer pieces first before you do the middle, so then that way you can create the same amount of distance between them. Okay, so I'm also going to use the iridescent rhinestone basic jewels, and I am going to add some of these medium-sized ones in the center of these bigger stars. What's nice about these, they're clear, so they bring on the color that's underneath them. Okay, and then I'm going to add some smaller ones to the center of this smoky slate burst that I did. Now I'm not going to put any on this one down here because that's where we're going to put the greeting part. Okay, and then we're just going to place this, leave that straight, and we'll place that right there. Okay, so that is our first card. On to our second. Okay, so for my next card, I'll be using the Night Divine stamp set. I'll be using this greeting that says, "He shall be called Wonderful, Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace." I'll also be using this die here from the coordinating set of dies. And I will be using these little stars here from the Stars at Night set of dies. So let me bring in my pieces of cardstock. So I have a piece of basic white thick measuring 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4.25. I have a piece of Starry Sky measuring 5.25 by 4. A piece of Pecan Pie measuring 5.25 by 4.25, and then a piece of the silver. It's the silver and gold Adhesive-Backed Glimmer paper. This is obviously the gold piece that's in the package. This measures 3 by 1.5. Now, this was an online exclusive paper, and unfortunately, it's no longer available. It has sold out, but this will work with any like gold, either gold foil or any other type of gold glitter type paper. So for this piece, I'm going to be die cutting these stars from that set. You get two dies for each of the designs. So I'll be die cutting that. I'll set that aside because I'm going to do all of my die cutting and heat embossing all at the same time. And then this die will cut out this piece right here. And then I'll be stamping and embossing on that. So let me just fold and burnish this card base. And we'll set this aside. Okay, so for this piece, I am going to, another item that's no longer available that I'll be using is my Stamparatus. Because this is a larger image, a stamp positioner tool is the way to go as far as, having to stamp more than once, because I want to make sure that I got a good coverage of excuse me, my Versamark ink that I'll be using to ink it up, and I'll be embossing it with the white embossing powder. So before I start and before I forget, let me bring in excuse me, the embossing buddy that comes with the Embossing Editions toolkit. In that toolkit, you get the tray, you get a brush, this embossing buddy, and the reverse tweezers. And that can be found in our annual catalog, and I will have that linked in the description below. So I'm just going to put some powder on here. It's going to remove any oils from my fingers and any static. So I'll put that there. Now I got chalk like all over my hands. Everything I touch is going to have white on it. So I'm going to ink up this stamp really well. And that's in that corner. So I'm going to stamp this, and then I'm going to re-ink it again and stamp it again. Feels like my Versamark ink pad may be getting a little dry. I'll have to re-ink that. It's closed. Make sure that I get all that ink transferred. Okay. See, actually, over here, looks like it didn't quite get to it. See, the thing with the Stamparatus is because of the hinge, the stamp being here, that part is not as close to the base as it is like over here. So for that spot, I just have to press it a little bit more. Let's see. Let me ink it up some more over on this side. Make sure that's straight in there. Just press. Okay, that's better. Looks like it shifted a little, ever so slight amount. But it should be okay. So let me bring this in. I'll move this out of the way. This spoon is just one, it's like a little hors d'oeuvre spoon that's part of a pack that I got at the dollar store. It works well. Okay. I'm just going to add some powder. Okay. So let me close this up. And we'll move this all out of the way. Oops. Okay. So the next few steps that I'm going to do now, I'm going to speed up the video. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to bring in my heat tool and I'm going to heat this powder up. I will also die cut this piece along with all of these stars. So I'll be right back. Okay, so for this embossed piece, I'm going to bring in, this is just a piece of a Swiffer cloth. Then I'm just going to wipe up some of the excess embossing buddy. And if it looks like there's some in the middle, just give it the effect that there's light on that part. Okay, so this piece, I'm going to adhere this to my card base. A little bit more, since the heat tool warps the cardstock a bit. Then I'm going to center. Okay. We're going to try this again. We're going to center this on our card base. Hard seeing on white. Okay. Okay. And then for this piece, I'm going to bring in my dimensionals, both the regular size and the smaller ones. And I'm going to place some on here. Let's see. Okay, and then we'll do 2 more up in this corner here. Just a little bit. Okay, and then our smaller ones, we'll use those. Let me bring in my Take Your Pick tool. It'll be a little bit easier since these are smaller. So I just want to randomly place these on here so that way this piece will be sturdy. So put another 2 up here. And then let's put some down at the bottom and along the sides. Put one. There. And then one more. Like, oops. Okay. We'll just make sure those are all pressed down. Okay. We'll remove these paper backings. Now to line up the greeting that's on this Starry Sky piece, what I did is I cut this piece out and I placed it in my Stamparatus. I then took the die and I placed it over the image so then I knew where to line up the stamp itself. And then from there I just checked on the plate to make sure that it was straight. Okay, so now I'm going to adhere this and see if we can get it straight here. I can move it over just a little tiny bit. Okay. And then I'm going to bring in these stars. Bring the Take Your Pick tool to to just lift off the backing to that. And if you don't have this paper, like I said, you can use gold foil, you can use like some other gold glitter type paper and then just add a little bit of glue on the back of it. Okay, so I'm going to add this one right at the top here. And then this other one. I'll add this one right over here. Actually, I'll get this paper off with my nail. So this one I'm going to put over on this side. Like so. And then for our last one, I'm going to tuck this one back behind here. So, straighten it just a little bit and press that down. Okay, so that is our second card. On to our third. Okay, so for my third card, I'll be using this stamp right here from the Stars at Night stamp set. And I will also be using the stars. Well, I'll be using these dies and one of the stars that we used before. And we'll also be using the Stars at Night hybrid embossing folder. So for my cardstock pieces, I have a piece of fresh Freesia measuring 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4, a 5 1/4 by 4 Boho blue, a 5 by 5 piece of the Vellum Cardstock, a 4 by 2.5 inch basic white, and then I have a 3 by 1 and a 1.5 by 1 silver Adhesive-Backed Glimmer paper. So for this little star, this is going to be for that. So I'm going to put that aside because we're going to do the die cutting and stuff, all together. So for this piece, I'm going to stamp my greeting that says, "Wishing you the best and brightest holiday season." And I'm going to do that in fresh Freesia ink. And I'm going to just stamp this in the middle. It doesn't have to be perfect or straight because I will be die cutting it. Okay, I'll close this up. We're done with that. And then I'll be using this die to cut it out. I will also, with this piece of the silver glimmer paper, I'm going to just die cut a bit of this. So just like this, because I'm going to have a little bit of this silver right above this greeting. So these will be die cut together. Then let's see, for this piece, I'm going to do a really cool technique. And then again, this is going to be part of when I speed it up. And there's an order to do this. So for the vellum, okay, with this embossing folder, the hybrid embossing folders are a little bit different than our regular embossing folders. These are 3D, so they are thicker. But then with these, they're set up to where you can use the dies, and on the side that has the Stampin' Up! Logo, you'll feel that these will kind of like lock in place. You see that it doesn't really move. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my piece of vellum. I will place it over this. I will close it up. I'll run it through my machine, and the result will be that the vellum will not only, the stars will not only be cut out, but they will also be embossed as well. So this step will be the first step that I do, because the next step that I'll do is with this boho blue piece. I'm going to bring in my Whisper White craft ink. Now, when you get this in our catalog, it comes uninked, and you also get a little bottle, a refill bottle of the white ink as well. So this is the refill. This is how you would get it. This is uninked. The Whisper White craft pad, this ink, it's more of a consistency of a paint rather than a dye-based ink like the rest of them. So what I'm going to do with this, I'm going to ink up this side of the folder. So the side that's got the Stampin' Up! Logo. I'm going to ink this all up. And then for my piece of boho blue, I'm going to place this down to where I have this bigger star, more like in, kind of like up in this area here. And then I'll close this and I'll run it through my machine, and the effect that it'll have is pretty cool. So if you mess up and you don't do the vellum part first, and you end up doing the inking part first, it's not a lost cause. The only thing you're going to have to do is you're going to have to clean this before you can then die cut the vellum. Now, it's craft ink, it's water based, so all you have to do is just use a little soap and water, rinse it off, and let it dry, and you're good to go. Okay, so that I'm going to do that after I cut this piece. So we're going to set that aside. So right now, I'll just fold and burnish my card base. We'll put that aside. And then I'll bring in my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. And then we'll get this I can't talk. Sorry about that. Then I'll be back and we'll assemble the card. Okay, be right back. Okay, so let me bring in my pieces. So it's really cool, the embossing that it did on the vellum. So before I go and I put all these together, what I do want to do on this first, I do want to brush on some clear Stella on here. Actually, let me do it over this scrap paper rather than that. And I'm just going to add a little bit on points of the star, just to add a little bit of shimmer to them. Not going to worry so much about the very middle of it because it'll be covered up. And I'll do that on all of these pieces. Then this one. Okay. And we'll set these aside for a moment, let those dry before we assemble those. And then this little silver star will go on the very top when we put those together. So on my boho blue piece, you can see that the white paint, it's all in the crevices. So, well, yeah, the crevices. So it's almost like there's chalk that's outlining those images, which is kind of a really cool effect. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to adhere this to my card base. We'll center that. And again, that embossing folder will come clean with a little soap and water. Okay, so we have that there. Then for this piece here, my silver glimmer, there's going to be just a little border of it showing on the top. So I'm going to bring in my adhesive and I'm going to add some to the top here. Then, let's see, add a little bit more up here. Okay. And then I'm just going to line this up, leaving a really small border at the top of it, like so. And then I'm going to bring in my dimensionals and I'll add some dimensionals to the back of this. Okay, we'll set that aside. Okay, so now let's bring in our stars. Okay, to adhere these together, I'm going to use glue dots and I'm going to double them up on top of each other. It'll add just a little bit of a lift to them. I'm just going to place one on top of the other. And then this taller, skinnier one, I'm going to center that over it. Like so. Just press down in the middle there. And then I'm going to do the same thing, add another 2 glue dots. Move that. Okay, and then for our last one, center that on there like so. And just press that down. Okay, and then for my glimmer star, I'm going to remove this paper backing from it. And I'm going to add that right in the center. Like so. Just press that in place. Okay. And then on the back of this, I'm going to add one of my larger dimensionals right in the center. Okay. Move that out of the way. And I will place this star right over this one here on the base. Now it's got a little bit of dimension. Okay, and then for my greeting, I'm going to add that below it. And center that right there, like so. And then I'm going to bring in my festive pearls, and I'm going to add 3 silver ones to the base. And we'll add, let's see, we'll put one up here. And then another one right down here. Okay, so that is our third card. Little pastel and sparkly going on for this one. So let me bring in my 3 cards. So we had this was our first one. So it was a little more of a simpler card than this one here. This one was a little stepped up. And then there is our third one. So let me kind of move these so you can see them. So I thank you for joining me for this episode of Step It Up Saturday. Now we are starting our Christmas cards. So I will be back again on, let's see, next Thursday is another Throwback Thursday. That will be Christmas. And then on the 1st, there'll be some more Christmas card inspiration. I'll be creating 2 cards that are more on the simpler side. So it's just inspiration if you want to make your own Christmas cards. And then next Saturday, it will be another Step It Up Saturday with more Christmas themed cards. So I thank you for joining me. I hope you're having a great day and a great weekend. And if you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to my channel. It really does help me in growing the channel. So thank you again. Have a great one, everyone. Be blessed. Bye-bye.